So, as I was saying, you should consider staying at home. I see a lot of young people who are so eager to move out and don't have a plan on how they're going to get on the property ladder that they disadvantage themselves. There's a lot of advantages and benefits to staying at home if you have the right family structure. Now, I get it. Not everybody has parents or a parent that has their own home that they can stay at. Not everyone has the type of relationship that they'd want to stay at home or go back home as an adult. But don't rule it out. Don't think, well, I'm an adult, therefore I have to be out on my own and stay and have all these expenses. There's lots of benefits. There's ways to work around the lack of independence. There's ways to work around privacy. But first and foremost, by staying at home, you can save money. If you're trying to get on the property ladder, one of the biggest things that you're going to need for your new home is a deposit. And a lot of people underestimate the value of staying at home and saving money. It also can help in reducing the household expenses. So you can go to Costco, do the big shop, everybody pitches in, and it makes it less expensive for everybody else. You're going to need to make sure that you have a plan. Don't just stay home like my friend Rob did. He stayed home and he was always on vacation, bought the most expensive everything. So he wasn't actually benefiting from staying home because he was spending or wasting all of his money. What parents should do, and this can be controversial. And when I say this, I was at an event not too long ago going through this presentation. And when I said that young people should stay home and parents should charge rent, one of the ladies in the audience was like, amen. Yes, you should charge rent. Now, the caveat is this. You should be charging rent to cover some of the household expenses, but a bulk of that money should be saved. You should be saving that money on behalf of that young person towards a deposit. If you're in a financial situation where you can help that young person and you are a member of the bank of mom and dad, maybe you give them an offer where you say, well, if you save X, I will match it with X. It's a good incentive. It also teaches the discipline that people need when they go out to live by themselves, because they'll be used to saving money. They'll be used to having to pay bills. When they move out, it won't be that shock that it is for a lot of people. I'd strongly recommend that you put it in a high interest savings account. So don't just save the money in your current account. Don't save it with one of the high street banks. Quite often, the best rates are going to be in one of those banks that is an online only bank. I recommend going to Money Savings Expert, doing your due diligence, and doing your research to find a bank that is safe, but also is going to give you the highest amount of interest. Because it's actually money that you're saving for your son, daughter, niece, or nephew, make sure that there's transparency. Make sure that they can see the benefits of staying at home and saving that money with you. You can give them guidance on how to save money. And one of the things that I would definitely recommend is make sure that they open a lifetime ISA. A lifetime ISA is a great savings tool as long as you're saving for the purpose of purchasing a home. I'm not giving financial advice in that sense, and I'm not giving tax advice, but I am saying that there is a tool that exists that is underutilized. It's a lifetime ISA. What is the benefit of a lifetime ISA? Broadly speaking, it is designed for people who are looking to purchase their first home. You put £4,000 in it as of the recording of this video, and the government gives you £1,000. So I've looked at different statistics on how long it takes the average person to save up for a deposit. Depending on what part of the country you're in, it might be from 4 to 8 years. But just imagine the government giving you £1,000 a year because you've put 4,000 into this lifetime ISA. There are a lot of stipulations with the lifetime ISA. Make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you understand that, broadly speaking, there are only two ways that you can access that money. Number one is the purchase of your first home. Number two is if you are diagnosed with a critical or terminal illness. This is a broad conversation about the lifetime ISA. Do your due diligence, but it's certainly something that you should look into. Independence is sometimes overrated. As I said at the beginning, my daughter, who's 5, is just so eager to be independent. But it can be overrated. If you're staying at home, you might have concerns about your privacy. And obviously, more than one adult in a home is always going to be problematic. As adults, you have your preferred ways of doing things, and it's further complicated when it's your parents. But if you have a goal in mind, if you have a plan and it's something that everybody is bought into, it can be great because understanding you're saving money. This means if you have a girlfriend and boyfriend and you want some of that alone time, you can have a weekend away. You'll have more money as long as it's within your budget and within your plan to have that privacy. Maybe you send your parents away on a vacation that you can have the home to yourself. But there's ways that you can balance it. There's ways to thread the needle that in the long run, it will benefit you. And remember, time goes quicker than you think. One of the things that I hear all the time from parents and sometimes from young people when we're talking about buying a property and maybe putting the children on the mortgage is the pushback of, well, I don't want to lose my first time buyer's discount. Quite often, I will always push back and say, well, how much have you saved so far? So there's this elusive thing that someday I will get on the property ladder and someday I will get that first time buyer's discount. Now, there's no guarantee that it will be around forever, A, and B, why would you prevent yourself from getting on the property ladder now if everything else is aligned and you could do that with your parents, which in most cases when they pass away, that's going to be your house anyway. In some circumstances, depending on the math, by staying at home and maybe going on that mortgage with your parents, the equity that is built up in that property can be used to offset any stamp duty that you might have to pay now that you're not a first-time buyer. Now, I'm not some guy on the internet that's telling you there's one size fits all. As I've said several times, it's not for everybody, but don't rule it out. The other thing to think about, once you're out, you're out. I've been living by myself since I was about 19, and there have been times that it was difficult for me and I had to go back and live with my parents. But if I had had a better plan and actually had listened to my grandparents and saved my money and done the right things, when I had moved out, it would have been a more permanent thing because I'd have been able to move out into my own home, have a lot of equity in the property, have the skills and discipline to be able to maintain that home without running into credit problems or credit issues. How do you prepare? As I said, Lifetime ISA is a great tool. Make sure that you look it up. Manage your expenses. So have a budget, have a plan, and be accountable to someone. So don't just have this number in your head about how much you want to save. Actually speak to someone who understands finance, potentially even speak to a mortgage broker. Yes, it might seem a bit preemptive to speak to a mortgage broker when you're just starting the journey, but why not understand how mortgages work? That's why I do these property chats. That's why I have people like Sam to discuss various aspects of property investment, and other things. The last thing that I would say on this topic is protect your credit. And I don't mean just your credit score. One of the biggest myths that exists is people always talk about their credit score because most banks will send you that free credit score. We're not talking exclusively about your credit score. We're also talking about your credit profile. So your credit profile is more about how you manage your credit. So you could have a good credit score, but have missed a payment recently. It's better if you don't have any missed payments, late payments. Clearly, you don't want any CCJs or defaults. but you could have a high credit score and apply for a mortgage, but you've missed a payment recently, and some of the lenders aren't going to like that. So protect your credit. Don't co-sign for anybody. Don't buy anything for someone else because they have bad credit and then they say that they're going to pay you. They have bad credit for a reason. I've seen this happen frequently where good-natured people, and let me just keep it 100, it's usually women helping men. I said it. It's usually women helping men. So they've protected their credit. They've done all the right things. And they're like, I'm going to help this person out. If you want to help them, give them cash. Do not co-sign for anyone. Do not take something out and someone says they're going to pay you back, because the contract will be against your name. The payments will need to be made by you if the other person doesn't make the payment. And if you co-sign for someone or you do something jointly with someone and they stop paying, you will be responsible. You cannot go back to the lender and say, well, Joe stopped paying, so here's my half. You will be responsible for the full payment. And just keep in mind, messing up your credit can cost you thousands, if not tens of thousands, because if you don't qualify for the best rate on your mortgage, it means you're going to pay a higher rate for the life of that mortgage, or at least until you clean things up. One of the tools that you can use is a joint borrower sole proprietor mortgage. A lot of people don't know about this tool. So a joint borrower sole proprietor mortgage is a mortgage that's designed to get people on the property ladder where maybe they don't have the income. So you can have a parent, a friend, a family member be on the mortgage, but they don't own the property. So they're on the mortgage, but they do not own the property and they're not on the deed. It's a mortgage where multiple people are on the loan, but only one owns the property. The sole proprietor is the legal owner and listed on the title deed. Supporting borrowers are there to help with affordability. Some lenders even do what is called a split term mortgage. Why is this important? Well, it's important because when you're taking out a mortgage, the term is based on the oldest person. So if you are 30 years old and you have a parent that is 55 years old, the term of that mortgage is going to be based on the 55-year-old. And although some lenders lend into retirement, it's still going to shorten the term. A split term mortgage will be one where they take one part of the mortgage against the oldest person and have a shorter term on that. And then the younger person has a longer term. It's a great tool. It's not for everybody. And some parents are not comfortable with it because they're like, oh, I've already paid off my mortgage. Now you're putting me on another mortgage. Because the reality is, even though they're not a legal owner of the property, they are individually and jointly responsible for the monthly payment. So if you don't pay, they will. The first question that parents always ask me is, when will I come off? So you need to have an exit strategy. You need to be open and honest with that parent, and you need to have a conversation with a mortgage broker where the parent can ask questions and feel comfortable and confident. Another tool is shared ownership. Shared ownership is, again, a tool that some people love, some people absolutely hate. When people come to me and talk to me about taking out a shared ownership mortgage, I always say, do this. Please Google shared ownership nightmares. Pause. New chapter. Please Google shared ownership is the best thing on the planet. The reason why I asked them to do that, it's just like with banks. You could talk to someone and say, what do you think about ABC Bank? And one person might say, it's the most amazing bank. They have the best service. I love it. And another person would be like, I hate them. Stay away from them. Shared ownership mortgages are not for everybody. In most cases, I discourage people from it, especially if it's someone that is not a British-born person, someone that's here that might be moving back home, someone that is starting their career, and maybe they need the flexibility of being able to move at any point. But if a shared ownership mortgage is for you and it meets your lifestyle, one of the benefits is a lower deposit. So you'll be buying a percentage of the total home, which means you only need to get a mortgage for the percentage that you're buying. So it means that you have a lower deposit. It also means, in most cases, it's lower monthly costs. Those monthly costs are usually less than it would cost to rent a similar property. So you have the benefits of partial ownership, you have the benefits of a lower deposit, you have the benefits of having lower monthly expenses, and then you can do something called staircasing, where you can buy more of the percentage of that property to a point where you can own the entire property. I'm going to quickly talk through the mortgage process. Then I'll be bringing in our special guest, Sam. We're going to have a great conversation. Sam is someone, as I said, someone that I met who's very knowledgeable. He's not going to be talking about mortgages. He'll be talking about his magazine and property investing and some new business ventures that he has. So it will be quite exciting. But if you don't understand the mortgage process, let me explain it very quickly. Stage one is you need to speak to a broker. Always speak to a broker about 6 months before you think you're ready to get your mortgage. Let me stress that. Speak to a mortgage broker 6 months before you think you're ready to get your mortgage. Why is that? There are a lot of things that a competent mortgage broker will be able to tell you that will help you get a better mortgage. A lot of the things take 3 to 6 months to actually go into full force. So for example, if you have missed payments, late payments, a mortgage broker will say, listen, clear that up and put 3-6 months between the late payment or missed payment and when you apply for the mortgage. So if you wait until the last minute, you're not going to be able to do that. Savings, they'll be able to tell you ways to enhance your savings, clean up your savings, and do things that will make your application more attractive to more lenders. And that's what you want. You want choice. Once you're ready to purchase the property, you're going to need an agreement in principle. An agreement in principle, or mortgage in principle, or decision in principle is what the estate agents are going to ask you for, sometimes in order to view, but certainly in order to make an offer. An agreement in principle is not a formal contract, and it's not as important as people think, but it's more important than people think all at the same time, because it gives you a realistic view of how much you can borrow. Frequently, people think they can get more than they can actually get, and sometimes people can get more than they think they can get. So you get your affordability together, you get your agreement in principle together, you go out, you find a property, you negotiate, get the very best deal on that property. Keep in mind, what the bank says that property is valued at is what counts. So the bank will do a valuation. Once the offer is agreed, you're going to do a formal application with the lender, and that will involve underwriting. That's when the bank looks at everything that you've said on the application. They'll ask you for pay slips, bank statements. They'll ask you for proof of identification. They'll ask you for all of the things to confirm that what you've put on the application is correct. The offer will then be converted into a full mortgage offer. So the AIP will be converted into a full mortgage offer. At that point, it gets handed over, for the most part, to the solicitor for the legal stuff to happen. I'm going to be bringing in Sam in maybe 1 minute. But remember this, getting a mortgage is not a dark art. It's not rocket science. It's not a dating system. So the bank is not taking things personally. So don't you take things personally or think you can fool the bank. You cannot fool the bank. Anyone that's been looking at bank statements as long as I have, and that's over 30 years, can forensically figure out what's going on. So always be open, be honest. There's a lender for every circumstance, for every situation. Remember, if it isn't documented, it didn't happen. So cash payments into your bank account, forget about it. Things that you're doing kind of, on the side, forget about it. If you're not paying tax on the money, if the money is not traceable, if the money is not, let's just say, on the level, then forget about it. PAYE, income is the best. Make sure that you have contracts. If you are just starting a new contract, that can be problematic. And as I said, make sure that you have savings. The bigger the deposit, the less criteria quite often you have to meet. And That is a quick summary of how to get a mortgage, and the key things being credit, income, and deposit. My name is Anthony Lindsay, and I'm really excited to bring Sam in on the call. And I'm going to say it's Sam Cook, but it's not the Sam Cook that you might be thinking about.
Hi,
Hey,
Anthony. 1 second. There we go. My
there you
virtual
go.
office
How are you?
background's there. I'm not bad. How are you?
Good. It's good to have you on the call. I know you are a very busy person, so it is really exciting to have you on the call. Tell everybody listening a little bit about you.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm nowhere near as good a singer as the actual Sam Cooke. So, yeah, no need to specify. Yeah, my name's Sam. I'm the owner of Blue Bricks magazine. Um, talk about a bit about that shortly. Also, the founder of My Business Past, which is a new business coming out. Blue Bricks is a property investment magazine with 10,000 readers UK wide. We also run large scale events to hundreds of people, again UK wide. And then My Business Pass is a sort of new tech platform that we're launching too. My background really is property marketing and a little bit of sort of private equity investment stuff. So loads of stuff we can talk about today, and I'm quite looking forward to it.
Okay, so you are the owner, and I did say publisher, so I kind of gave you a demotion. You're the owner of Blue Bricks magazine, and it's a property magazine and an investment magazine. From reading it myself, I learned a lot. And it was also an opportunity to find out about people that are in the industry that I need to connect with. So, could you just give three target demographics for the magazine?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the three main demographics really are property investors, property developers, and I suppose to a degree, people that are aspiring to become property investors or developers. However, our content is more targeted at the experienced people. It is a very useful resource for people that are wanting to sort of learn more from a reliable source.
And one of the great things about the magazine and the frequency of the magazine is the fact that it always has right on time information, because the property market moves so quickly that you have to be kind of on the pulse. So I would imagine when you're putting the magazine together, you have insights into what's going to be happening over the next couple of months.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we also have a weekly newsletter that we send out for free. And the reason for that is, like you say, the property market actually changes so quickly. Because we're a bi-monthly publication, that you sometimes you need to get it out on the day, and you can't wait for design and print and all the stuff that comes with publishing. So a lot of the content that we have in Blue Bricks, although we have market updates and market predictions from people that are studying, I'm going to try this word correctly, economists. I think I got it there. A lot of the content that we provide is also evergreen too. So it's stuff about, how do you raise private finance? How do you find deals? How do you tax effectively structure your property portfolio and deal with difficult tenants? All the stuff you sort of need to know as a property investor.
And I think that that's one of the key points in there. All the things that you need to know, because there's so much that you need to know. And I have a constant debate, battle, disagreement, argument, whatever you want to call it, with a lot of people, because there's this thing that people say that really winds me up when they say, oh, people don't have access to information, and, you don't have the financial literacy. And I always push back, especially when I'm talking about young people, is my nephew. If I ask my nephew about his favorite player, his favorite football player, he can tell me a level of stats that will just blow my mind. How old he was when he started playing, how many goals he scored. And my thing is, if young people can retain that information, they can certainly retain what a LTV is. And as far as the access, just before we started this podcast, I was watching something on YouTube, and this NatWest ad comes up talking about how to help young people understand finance better. Pretty much every bank has that. But because you are in a market that is more focused on property professionals, property investors, you're able to give, like you said, more in depth information. And you said forecasts, insights. You mentioned a newsletter. How would someone get access to your weekly newsletter?
Yeah, so I mean, the easiest way is go to bluebricksmagazine.com. If you scroll to the bottom, you'll see an option there to input your email. Otherwise, just email hi@bluebricksmagazine. And I do recommend it, not as a sales thing, but genuinely because we actually pay a PR lady to go out every single week and find the collection. So it's professional, it's up to date, and it's just a useful free resource for anyone that's looking for that kind of thing.
Okay, now as far as the physical magazine, where could someone get it? And for the property investors that might be watching, how could they be featured in the magazine and what benefits would that give them?
Yeah, so bluebricksmagazine.com. We do a 3 month trial, so you can sign up to that. You'll get a copy of the magazine in the post if it's for you. We also do monthly online events with guest speakers. You know, the last one we had was talking about commercial property investment and how to get into that. So really good content, again for free. And if you like it, stay subscribed. If not, no problem at all. You've got a free magazine to add on to your bookshelf. And in terms of getting featured, we do a member spotlight. So members of Bluebricks Magazine can actually submit their stories and their articles for free, completely free of charge, and get featured in there. You know, people have had huge successes writing for Bluebricks. People have raised private finance off the back of
Mm.
it. We've had someone that had Homes England contact them off the back of the magazine. People have got clients, customers, all kinds of stuff from it. So, you know, it's a great fantastic way of sort of boosting your personal brand as well.
And yeah, that's a good point because I was just about to say with the personal branding, there is a vanity side of the whole thing. So, like, if you look in the background, we have me on the cover of a magazine, and this is something that beyond the financial benefit of it, beyond the reach, you have it's increasing your network, it's establishing you as a key person of influence and information. But it's also nice to have your picture in a magazine that is circulated across the country. How many different locations, or what's the circulation like on the magazine?
Yes, we've got 10,000 readers UK wide.
See, it's 10,000 readers. And we all know that in the property world, your network is your net worth, just as anywhere is. But how much better is it for someone to read a magazine in a part of the country that you're not even familiar with, find out that you are a property expert or you're an investor or you're looking for investments and they reach out to you? It kind of makes things a lot easier. Now, we've talked a lot about the magazine, but you mentioned something in the tech field. Could you tell us a little bit about your new venture?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, launching a tech business has been interesting, going from publishing, which is very old school, to tech. But I've loved it and the various challenges it's brought. So, what we've essentially done is we've created a platform for business owners, exclusively for business owners, and it's an app. And business owners sign up to this app, and it gives them discounts on all essential business supplies. So that's discounts on petrol, diesel, marketing fees, accountancy fees, solicitors fees, office space, virtual offices. I think I said marketing is on there as well. We've got storage on there. Restaurants, hotels, literally, if you can think of it as a business expense, there is a discount on the app for that. Working with large brands UK wide like Virgin Active Gyms, Currys, Zero, Big Yellow Storage. I forgot who else is on there. There's a few other big names. There's loads. And oh yeah, we've just done a partnership with Tide. We're speaking to WorldPay as well. So you know these are the sorts of people that are on there giving discounts to our members. And the sort of inspiration behind that was it's hard running the business. It's especially hard these days with the rising costs. Tax is just killing the lot of us. If tax isn't getting you, rising costs from your suppliers and everything else is. It'd be cheaper these days to drive to someone's address and post a magazine than it would be to pay Royal Mail. So we wanted to sort of create an answer to that that helps, especially smaller to medium-sized businesses, to not just sort of survive in what is a very hard economy right now, but to actually thrive as businesses too.
Yeah, so that buzz of thriving and not just surviving is something that resonates with a lot of people. Now, some people might say, well, this is a property show. I know we talked about Blue Bricks magazine, but why are we now talking about business? in my experience, a lot of property investors, that's kind of their pension pot. So these are
Yeah.
professionals, these are accountants, these are doctors, these are professionals that have used property as a vehicle to build their pension and to mitigate the risk across different markets. So providing a tool like what you're talking about will help them in their everyday life, in their 9 to 5, in their personal business, and reducing costs. Because you know, and I know, that the biggest problem that most businesses face is cash flow. It's not always just having the money, it's having that flow of cash in a way that you can meet your bills every month. So the more money you can save, the better it is for you. One of the things I have to say, Sam, and you know that online, I try to be very transparent and I try to be consistent. And I love to encourage people that are doing good things. And you wrote a post a couple of weeks ago and I loved it, reposted it, jacked some of the information and curated my own post on it. But just talking about the challenges, and I want you to recount a little bit of that post, just talking about the challenges of starting a new business. And the thing that resonated with me was the fact that you spoke about people who they only broadcast the wins, they never talk about the hard times. So if you could just tell us a little bit about that post and share that experience with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, someone said a quote to me the other week, and that's what sparked the idea behind the post was, you only hear about a person's struggles on social media after they've had them. And at that point, they're talking about, I had this hard time, but I've overcome it. And, people are scared to talk about the difficulties they're having. But when I speak to most business owners, and I'm not just saying startup companies, even huge established businesses, a lot of people are struggling mentally, personally, family issues, family members that are ill, mental health problems. People are having tax is killing a lot of people, staff problems, people losing customers, all these things that are unfortunately part and parcel of life and part and parcel of business. We all go through them, but no one talks about it online. So I think the problem is the loneliness that comes with when you do encounter an issue like, oh, how do I pay this tax bill? My costs have just gone up, but I've now got to pay my staff more, and no one else is talking about it. I think you feel like the only one having that problem, and that's not the case. And another thing that sparked it is with Blue Bricks and building that brand over the past 3 years, we've got to a point now where we're really well known, really well established in the industry. People approach us to work with us, and if we do approach someone to work with them, it's typically a resounding yes because they already kind of know about us and we've got the track record. Starting a new business and approaching brands like Curry's that are huge, and you're going, "Hi, it's little old me. We've just started out." Curry's are a partner now, but we're facing a lot of rejection, which is natural. It's normal. You expect it. You've got to build the social proof before anyone's going to believe in you. But it's been a difficult process going from, oh, yeah, Blue Bricks Magazine, we'd love to feature, advertise, whatever, to, sorry, yeah, we're not interested, we're not interested, we're not interested. And what is it? You're 100 no's to get closer to a
Yeah,
yes. So
yeah.
it's just been that transition. I actually forgot how difficult it was to try and have a business in its infancy, and you've got to have an unbelievable amount of resilience um, to survive because the app's not even launched yet. It's launching later this month, and we've had massive tech delays on that, which have been a minefield. You're working with these huge brands, and then suddenly you've got to tell them that your product that they believe in is delayed. It's reminded me that resilience is definitely the key trait in successful business owners.
And that's one of the reasons why, like, people might call me a hater, people can call me whatever they want, but when people approach me about starting a business, the first thing I try to do is talk them out of it, in the sense that I keep asking them the why.
Yeah.
8 out of 10, the reason why they're starting their business is because they got fired from their job. They're feeling wounded and rejected. And the hope of saying, yeah, I'm going to start my own business is the hope that they need. And, in my early days of helping people start business, I'd pour everything into it. 3 months later, they're like, oh, I got a job. And they walk away from it. The other thing is
Yeah.
when people are just purely chasing their passion, and passion is
Mm,
great, and there should be passion involved in what you're doing. But if you're doing it purely on passion, when you have those rough days like what you were talking about, Sam, that passion will diminish. So you
yeah.
need to have something tangible behind it. You need to have a strong why. And, my business mantra is make it scalable, sustainable, repeatable, franchisable. So everything you're doing, think about scaling. So you sign up Curry's and then Curry's opens the door to all these things. You have to be able to scale up quickly. Sustainable. When you're starting a business, it can take up a lot of your time. And depending on your family structure and your personal life, maybe that other person in the relationship with you is okay with it for 2 months, 3 months, maybe 4 or 5. But are they going to be okay with it for 3 years? So you want to make
Yeah.
it sustainable, repeatable, document absolutely everything. Everything should be on paper and not just up here. So that way, when you want to do it again or transition like you've done from Blue Bricks to starting this new business, the muscle memory is there because you've written things down and you have processes in place and franchisable. Start every business as if you are going to sell it and no longer be a part of it. Always create a business that you don't need to be there because the systems are sustaining the business and the data driven side of things. So make sure it's data driven. So look at the data, analyze the data based on the plan. If something's not working, understand why, iterate. But at some point, you will have to give up if something's just not working. And that's not me being a hater. That's just me looking at businesses for the last 30 years, either from a consultancy side of things or as a bank manager, or even now with the property side of things. People are starting property businesses for the wrong reasons and they think it's going to be easy. I was at an event this Saturday and Muzzy, who's one of my favorite people, Muzzy said, anyone who tells you that a property business, and I can apply it to any business, anyone that tells you that it's easy is trying to sell you a course. And I totally, totally buy into that. So I know I've done a lot of talking, Sam. So I want you to do two things. Firstly, for Blue Bricks, please forgive me. For Blue Bricks Mag,
Okay.
just again remind people how they can get the magazine and how they can get the newsletter.
Yeah, I'll do that. And but before I do, I think you said something, and it kind of made me laugh because I agreed with you on it completely. When people say I want to start a business, you talk them out of it. I had a friend approach me that was talking about starting their own business. They're on a very good wage, probably the top 20 to 10% of uh, people in the UK. And if, by the way, guys, if you look at that statistic, you'll be surprised. Top 20% of earners in the UK, 40 grand or above. How crazy is that? You'd think
Wow.
it's like hundreds of thousands. Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy stat. They get a lot of holidays, they get to travel for work, they get loads of discounts on the clothes and stuff like that, pensions paid for. They were talking, they said, I want to open a business. I said, why? They said, for freedom. I said, you're the top 20% of earners in the UK. You've got 28 days holiday. You only work, 40 hours a week. You get your weekends off. You've got freedom. And I do think there's this illusion around being a business owner and freedom. Freedom does come
Mm,
eventually, but after years of plowing through and building something that can actually stand on 2 feet without you, and that means building systems, hiring staff, getting customers. This idea that you're going to start a business and be free in a year or two is not the case, unless there's a contingency to that. You do build a sort of more lifestyle business. I've seen
yeah.
people do it where they only have to work 1 or 2 days a week with a couple of clients, and then they have the rest of the time off. That's possible, but I mean, if you want to build something bigger, more sustainable, I would say the idea of freedom is a myth, and you should probably analyze the freedom that you actually have already.
Yeah. And that's a really good point and something that any experienced business consultant or just someone with some life experience will have that conversation with anyone. And now with the Blue Bricks magazine, I want to know, if I want to get the magazine right now, how do I get it?
Yeah, so go to bluebricksmagazine.com, start your free trial. You'll get the magazine in the post, and then in addition to that, you can also join our next online webinar. We've got a great one coming up on the 22nd of July, which is all about deal flow and how you can actually build a pipeline of property deals and that includes a lot of AI and tech and really cool stuff, but it's going to be super easy to understand. That's included completely free. You'll get the magazine in the post too, again, completely free. If you want to unsubscribe, you can do. If you stay on board, it's just £12.95 every other month. So not much at all, really. Price for a cup of coffee every month at
Okay.
Starbucks.
That's that sales technique, isn't it? It's the price of a cup of coffee.
I
But
think
I think the
rate of
key.
inflation, Anthony, it'll be less than the price of a cup of coffee at this point.
Exactly. But the key with magazines, you hold on to them. I remember
Yeah,
with our Expo magazine. So when we do the Expo once a year, we do a magazine. And I recall times where someone has called from an ad in the magazine from 2 years ago. People tend to hang on to magazines, and Blue Bricks magazine is really well produced. It's a quality magazine that I don't think you can get everything you need out of it in just one sitting anyway. So it's something that people
yeah.
will hold on to. So it's of great value. And as far as your platform, what's the name of the platform and when will it be launching?
Yeah, so it's called My Business Pass, and I'm going to make sure I give you the right information here.
Mhm.
So it's called My Business Pass. We're hoping it's going to be launching later this month. We've just had some last minute technical issues with launching the app. Unfortunately, that's the thing with tech, these things can happen.
Yeah.
Not like good old fashioned publishing, but we are hoping it'll be launched towards the end of the month. If you go to mybusinesspass.co.uk, we've got a little bit more information on there. And if you just scroll to the bottom of that website, you can actually put your details in, just your name and your email, and be added to the newsletter. Why be on the newsletter? We're going to be doing a lot of giveaways, a lot of gifts, a lot of, Amazon vouchers, hotel stays, all sorts of things for people that are on that newsletter as we build up and we're geared towards launch. If I can help anyone with anything at all, reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's just Sam Cook, Cook with an E, or you can email me, sam@bluebricksmagazine.com. I'm just happy to help people. I don't have anything to sell other than what I've chatted about on this call.
And that's one of the things that I do appreciate you about you is kind of like what you see is what you get. Like the person that you see here. I mean, we were communicating initially online when we were going to do the expo. You showed up and you were that guy. That's why I put you in my intro video. If you've noticed, you're in the intro video. Well, it's been really good talking to you. One of the great things about technology is all the information that you've given me, I'll be able to put in the description, and as things change and evolve, I can update the description. And by the time a lot of people watch this, the app will be up and running, and they'll be able to say, "I saw Sam when he was just launching it." Before he was on, Steve Bartlett's show and running around, putting people on his show. So it's been really good having you. And we're going to be closing out. I'm going to be reminding people about a few things about starting their property business and getting a mortgage.
Thank you.
So remember, getting a mortgage is not something that people want. People actually want to buy a home. So getting a mortgage is a required part of the process unless you have a rich uncle that gives you the money. So if you're looking to get a mortgage, if you're looking to understand better how mortgages work, make sure that you reach out. I would say do not get your information, your advice, your specific guidance from some guy or girl on YouTube. Always speak to a qualified professional who will understand your circumstances and be able to give you the best advice. Frequently, people online, what they're saying is right in theory and potentially directionally, but it may not meet your needs. So that's why we do these monthly and sometimes weekly property chats. We have people like Sam on here that we can talk about things. Now, take those concepts, go and speak to a trusted mortgage advisor or a trusted accountant, and then build your plan based on that. My name's Anthony Lindsay, and I have been doing finance for over 30 years, so I know a thing or two. Make sure you like, subscribe, and support the channel.